Okay. So welcome to the Sports Lounge podcast, where we celebrate the athlete's success on and off the court and talk about the success they're having after the game. It's a pleasure to introduce you guys to Deatre Rogers, a clinical social worker that specializes in mental health out of San Francisco Bay Area. For some reason, I can't talk right now, but out of San Francisco Bay Area. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to have you on our show. And thanks again for taking time out to chat with us. So today is kind of different. Usually we talk about the athletes and the sports mental health, during the game and after the game. But, we just want to touch on the mental health overall, in our community and just in general. So just tell me a little about your background. I know you are a clinical social worker at San Francisco Bay Area. So what exactly do you? I know you specialize in mental health. So what made you get into mental health, also becoming a social worker?
So it actually started when I was in high school. I went to Berkeley High School, and so I took a African American psychology class, and I read the book by Naeem Akbar. It's called "Breaking the Chains of Mental Slavery," and that kind of just really was the catalyst of me going into
Excellent
mental
book.
health.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a really great book, and so I decided that that was going to be my major when I went to college. And as I just learned everything, I actually wanted to do marriage and family therapy. And then my professor taught me about social work and realizing how much more I could do in social work, whether it's working with people or working with organizations, so I can make a change on a greater level.
Nice, nice. So do you specialize in social work and it's safe to say mental health in the Bay Area, or are you are you all over California? Do you have a specialty in a territory?
My specialty is in terms of mental health is like
Hmm.
trauma, addictions.
Okay.
Um, I am trained in cognitive behavior therapy as well as dialectical behavior therapy. And so that's pretty much helping people deal with the symptoms of their mental illness and how to develop those coping skills, especially when people have trauma. They have all this. Depression and anxiety, and so helping them to be able to just kind of cope with that and be able to live their day-to-day life as normal as possible.
Excellent, excellent. So, in this show, we talk a lot about mental health and try and get down to the root and try and like help people become, stronger, mentally stronger, and
Mhm.
kind of eliminate or minimize mental health, if any. But it's kind of hard to say because in our community, it's a lot of issues that contribute to mental health. So, what do you see that contribute to a lot to mental health in African Americans in our community?
I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that sometimes the mental health issues actually starts when you are in the womb. The when your mother is experiencing trauma in her environment, she passes that along to her child, and so um, that depression and that anxiety that she can feel while she's pregnant, that can actually pass on, and that's why they call it like generational trauma because it goes through those barriers, and so I think that's some of the things that we have to address. And so some of the things we just can't help. But I think we don't realize that a lot of our childhoods were traumatic, but it was normalized for us. So being able to go outside and not hear gunshots is something that is very rare for some people. And so realizing that that is not normal, the racism that we experience, whether it's overt racism or passive racism that we experience, where it's kind of like undercover, like just like microaggressions and stuff like that that we experience, whether we're in school or in our neighborhood, in the community. Those things also play a part in our development, and our brains it becomes wired that way.
Wow. Well, thank you for enlightening me. I didn't know it starts like in the womb. It makes a lot of sense, but just to really, just like to, I guess to cover all the elements of it. I didn't know that. So thank you for sharing that. So
Yeah.
for teenagers or young adults that experiencing mental health, and just gonna try to like talk about the athletes. how do you think what and the athletes and people in general, what they can do, what can they do in transition from, you say, high school, college to the professional career if they deal with mental health? How can they manage their mental health and just have a healthy mental health? What they can do to manage that in transition, to different levels, stages in their life.
I think to first realize that that stage of their life is
Hmm.
a transition in itself. And so, excuse me,
Hmm.
their identity is still being formed, and so they're trying to figure out who they are. And so you one have to kind of seek professional help. I definitely would recommend seeking a therapist even at that age, so that they can help you navigate who you are, and because you're trying to figure out where I come from and the experiences that have taught me these things, and what the person that I'm trying to be. And you're kind of battling between those two things, and you have to recognize your triggers. And so when you're at this, when you are aware of your triggers and what sets you off and what triggers your anxiety and what triggers your depression, then you can actually work with a therapist while you're at baseline, which is like while you're at your calm state, so that you can build up those skills, those coping skills, and you can practice them, so that when you are triggered and you are in a situation that is when you're under pressure and it causes you to be overwhelmed, then you actually know how to deal with that in a way that is safe. And so it's basically like building up your resilience. And so um, you kind of also have to get to the root of your anxiety and depression, because some people don't realize that sometimes their fear to play well comes from the fear of letting someone down, or having that experience in childhood where if you were a good kid and you did everything right, then you got praised, and if you weren't, you were punished. And so then you kind of relate that, those two things. And so when you are aware of those things that happen in childhood that affect how you think today, which affects how you behave and how you respond to situations, then you can say, okay, this is what is true. This is what is real versus this is what is going on in my head. And I need to make sense of it, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So, is there like any, I guess, nonprofits or any helplines that they can provide to the listeners, for those who don't, you know, very reluctant to get help or just don't know how to get help? Is there any resources you can provide to them?
Yes, I would definitely recommend when you look on, I think, Psychology Today. That's a really good website to find a therapist, because they have so many options where you can choose the therapist that's in your city, that takes your insurance, that specializes in different issues that you're dealing with. You can definitely reach out to your local hospital and your doctor. They can also give you resources. I actually also work for a company, on track program resources, and they have a program called Soul Space, which caters to African Americans that are
Yes,
18
yeah,
and up.
thank you about that. Great. Okay. Do you mind
Yes,
special? I mean, going, elaborating on Soul Space? What's
yes, absolutely.
department Soul
So
Space?
So my role in Soul Space is an empowerment advocate. And so Soul Space is in a community wellness center, and it provides cost-free support specifically for African Americans. And it's by offering like support groups, workshops, trainings, individual coaching. And we also partner with community resources, so that we can connect our clients to therapists. And we try to connect with Black therapists, so that our clients can have therapists who look like them and who realize the issues that they're going through specifically as Black people.
Excellent, excellent. So, what where are you located? Well, I mean, where is this the Soul Space located? I think you mentioned was Berkeley and Sacramento, but what
Yeah.
where can people find it?
So we are at 2121 Bonar in Berkeley. And then they also have a site in Sacramento as well. And I don't remember the address to that one, but it is on the website, which is, let me see. It's on ontrackconsulting.com, and then you just kind of go to the soul space Oh, it's ontrackconsulting.org. And then you go to the services and projects, and then it's under Soul Space.
Excellent, excellent. So let me ask you a question. A close friend of mine, or we having a conversation the other day. He used to play college football. I lightweight play college football. But it was D3, but but during the time, playing collegiate football, we noticed that there was no resources for athletes, to transition uh, to life after sports if they make it to the next level, and also, me personally, and I know a bunch of athletes experience, some type of mental health trying to transition. So, do do you think there should be or how could it be a program in colleges to help athletes with the mental health, and especially for those don't make it because as an athlete, all your life, then you don't go to the next level. When you don't go to the next level, you got to reinvent yourself and transition to the next level in life. So do you think there should be or how could it be like some type of program to assist the athletes in college to transition, even for professional athletes?
I think if I'm honest, there should be specialized therapists that are specifically assigned to the athletic department, because all of the funding that the athletics bring into the school, that should cover that. And so when you have therapists who specifically specializes in sports psychology and being able to relate to the athletes exactly what they're going through, not just their mental health, but specifically to how it relates to their identity in sports. Because when you are an athlete, that's exactly, you're not saying you're a person anymore. You are now identify yourself as what you do. And so when that identity is taken from you, then there presents an identity crisis, which you were kind of describing. And so I think when you have specialized therapists who have an entire department specifically to cater to athletes, that's going to be very important and very essential to the school, because there are a lot of misconceptions about athletes that if you look strong on the outside, then there's nothing going on with you mentally. And so if I can't see your physical pain, then you must not be hurting and you must have everything together. So you're going to need somebody who can see through all of the strength and all of the stereotypes that come with it to say, hey, I see you, I understand what you're going through, and you don't have to feel guilty or ashamed, or you don't have to hide it or pretend to be stronger than what you really feel right now. And so I think that would be definitely essential, because some people turn to suicide, some people turn to drugs and addiction. And so you can definitely prevent a lot of those things from happening and actually give those athletes those tools to be able to shift and use their gifts in other areas, because they need to. When you're an athlete, you learn a lot of valuable skills, whether it's leadership, it's communication, it's teamwork. Those are all good skills that are great for different jobs. And so having a therapist there would actually help them say, let me take your skills that you used while you're on the court or on the field, and let me help you transition them into a job that you love just as much, or that you can still do with passion.
Agree. Excellent response. So, do you mind sharing with the listeners of any success stories? I know you have plenty of helping people out. Like things you experience with your own eyes, like the good, bad, and the ugly. Do you mind sharing that?
I can't.
Just a,
Well,
just a snippet.
I can
Just a
share to
snippet.
some extent, because there is a lot of
Yes.
confidentiality when you are working in
Agree.
mental health.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I don't want to like tell my client stories. And so,
Yes. Okay. Okay.
but like in a general sense, I've seen people be very resistant to therapy. Like, I would never do therapy. I don't want to do therapy. And then after like a few conversations with them, it's like 2 hours later, and they're like, wait a minute, this was therapy. And I was like, yes.
Mhm.
It's not what you
Love
think
it.
that it usually is. And so it kind of
Mhm.
opened their minds up to the thought of, okay, this isn't so bad, and this isn't what I saw on TV as just a person sitting on the couch asking me, so how does that make you feel? There, it's not that experience.
Yeah.
It's someone
Yeah.
actually caring about me and me being able to release those feelings. And I've actually worked with a lot of clients to address some of their childhood traumas that they didn't realize was causing them to repeat certain cycles today, because they were like, okay, why do I keep doing this? And why do I keep hanging around these certain people? And why do I keep making these decisions? And so kind of helping them go back to that childhood stage and say, hey, this is where it started. And this is what you were led to believe was true. And now, how do we apply that to current reality so that you can make better decisions with a different mindset? Now that you know better, you can know how to do better. And so, being able to see them just flourish and their self-esteem and their trust in themselves build up, because a lot of people don't trust themselves to make good decisions. And so to work with people and say like, oh my gosh, like, yes, I was able to make that decision. I didn't have to call 5 million people to get their advice, but I was able to trust myself and make wise decisions, whether that is financial or setting boundaries with some people, and just navigating in certain environments. So yeah.
Wow, great. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was great. So uh we definitely got to do this again. We got to do some segments because really trying to cover every aspect of mental health in our community, because I
Hmm.
know it's kind of coincide very closely with social work. So being a social worker, because you
Hmm.
so many different cases, and so many different issues, and things to tackle. So we definitely got to do that. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners, or anything you'd like to share? Any additional resource or anything you want to share?
I think the last thing that I would want to share is that if you are experiencing any mental health issues, whether it is anxiety or depression, or you just kind of can't quiet your thoughts, it's okay to get seek help, especially for a lot of the men out there, especially like Black men. They are Society puts this stigma on men that they can't show their emotions, especially when it comes to sadness and things of that nature. And they're led to believe that they have to be strong and they have to have it together. But it's okay to not have everything together, and it doesn't make you weak. And to seek help is actually a strength. And the being able to trust somebody that you can kind of take all your burdens to, and kind of have them help you carry that load so that you can sort it out, because it's kind of like putting everything in a water balloon. If you keep stuffing water inside of the water balloon, eventually it will burst and it will be everywhere. And so when you actually take the time to just let water out a little bit at a time, you kind of preserve the water balloon. And so that's the same thing for mental health, is sometimes talking about it and getting your thoughts out of your head and saying them out loud will definitely help you kind of make sense of some of the things that's going on in your life, so that you can figure out where you want to go and how you want to move and what that's going to look like for you to make a better life for you and the people around you. So definitely, there are
Yeah.
therapists out there that are free, that that will take your insurance, whether it's Medi-Cal or private insurance, or you don't have insurance at all. There are definitely a lot of resources out there if you just reach out to a hospital or you go on Google, and there's so many things that is available that you can tap into, so that you don't have to go it alone, because you don't have to be alone. You may feel by yourself, but there's always somebody willing to help.
Excellent. And I'm gonna say thank you. We need more people like you in the world to make a change, to tackle this issue. So thank you very much for taking time out to meet with us at the Sports Line podcast. Just want to wish you many more blessings, and thank you for what you do and continue doing it at a high level. And thank you. So really, again, thank you for bowing my heart, for taking time out to chat with us. So thank you
Thank
again,
you
and
for
many
having
blessings. All right.
me. Thank
Bye.
you.